What's up? We got another mock trade to discuss for the Minnesota Twins. This one coming from MLB.com in a piece where they plucked out several different trade ideas, mock trades to throw out there. One of them involved the Twins. We're going to discuss this. Big time additions to the bullpen, which desperately needed for the Minnesota Twins. Really any kind of pitching, but bullpen in particular, they could really use some, and the piece is coming to Minnesota. Very nice here. We have David Robertson and Scott Effross coming from the Cubs. Robertson, you might know, he's a little bit more of a marquee name. Now he's back again, pitching very well for the Cubs, closing out games for them, and is one of the hottest names on the free agent market in terms of relievers. Effross you might not know as well, but he's actually performing really maybe arguably one of the top 20 performing relievers in baseball right now. A right-handed side armor. Show you some highlights of these guys. Robertson's coming back. He's got that cutter working. And something that's really interesting about Robertson to note, he's 37 now, so he's really getting up there. But his velo is not only just maintaining throughout the season so far, it's actually getting a little bit better as the season has gone on. That's very encouraging. While as Effross, he's not a big velo guy. Gets it up into the low 90s, but nothing crazy. But his wipeout slider, coming from that lower arm slot, to show you some highlights of that pitch, can be just devastating. So definitely intrigued by these couple names here. The Cubs have some other guys that are going to be on the market as well, and Michael Givens, Chris Martin. There's some other guys in that pen, so they have quite a few pieces that would make sense for the Twins. This would take a lot. This proposed deal is quite a bit going back to Chicago. We have Spencer Steer and Matt Wallner and Cole Sands and Blaine Enlow. Steer, Wallner, Sands, and Enlow is the package going back to Chicago in this one. So, I'm a little torn on this one for me. Again, the piece is coming. I think we should talk a little bit more about those guys because undoubtedly these two are guys that the Twins should have interest in. Regardless, again, Robertson getting up there at 37 years old, but he's performing extremely well. An ERA under 2, a whip under 1. I'll pull up his baseball savant sliders here. I know everybody kind of likes those. It's such a good way to get a snapshot of how a guy's doing. As you can see, the walk rate is a bit of a concern, but I think especially for closers, you're going to see those be a little bit higher than usual. So not too concerned about that, especially since everything else is looking really good with his numbers. Again, Scott Effross has been incredible. He's much younger, much more control. We'll get into that part in a second. But he has a 2.72 ERA, so not as good there. Whip is pretty close between those two, 1.02. More than a strikeout an inning. Just in a remarkable strikeout to walk ratio, K- walk percentage, however you want to look at that. So here's a look at Effross. As you can see, not only is his strikeout rate good, his walk rate is also good. So that's kind of, I guess, the big differentiator between those two. But again, like I said earlier, Effross a little bit more of an off-speed guy, a little bit more of kind of getting away with that lowered arm slot, kind of uses that for deception. So it doesn't really blow hitters away with his velocity. But as you can see, still gets plenty of strikeouts. Not a big whiff rate, but still gets the job done for certain. Let's pull up the baseball trade values, how they have it broken down. As you can see here, they have this being quite a bit of an overpay for the Twins. However, I'm not so sure their models can accurately kind of reflect what this market is going to look like this year. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of sellers, so it seems like demand may be higher than supply for the bullpen. We'll see how it all breaks down, but that would kind of be my projection right now. Robertson, this is what suppresses his value in that trade calculator quite a bit, is that he is a free agent at the end of this year. And man, how bad would the Twins have liked to have signed him? He signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal in this offseason. Scott Effross, on the other hand, mentioned that Robertson is 37. Scott Effross, is still only 28 years old. This is his second season in the big leagues. The reason why his value is so much higher than Robertson's in that trade calculator is he can potentially be under team control until 2028. He's not even arbitration eligible until 2025. So he's going to be basically making around the minimum for 2 more seasons until being arbitration eligible for 3 seasons after that. So kind of another element to this trade that's interesting is maybe it makes more sense to just target rentals. You're going to have to pay a lot less in terms of your trade value to get those guys. Just kind of something to keep in mind with these targets and their trade value and what that's all about. What do I think about this trade? I'll say this. If the Twins made this trade, it's not like I would be upset about it. They would be big time addressing one of their biggest problems with this team. Getting 2 legit, performing relievers would just do wonders for this team. And there's a lot going to Chicago in this deal, but it's not as if it's completely unloading everything they have. Just yesterday, we looked at a trade to acquire Frankie Montas that included nobody in this deal. So, if we're working in this mock trade universe, there's enough prospects to go around between these 2 trades we've talked about so far to get both Frankie Montas and these 2 relievers from the Cubs. So it kind of gives you an idea of some of the prospect depth that the Twins are working with. If this is the cost that it would take to beat all the other teams that are trying to acquire these pitchers, I wouldn't be mad about this trade happening. I would not do this trade, though. If I was the Twins, this wouldn't be like an ideal trade that I would have. Unlike yesterday's trade that we talked about, I think that one is a slam dunk. This one I would not want to do. What are your thoughts on this one? Let me know.